An ungrateful billionaire CEO mocked this 45-year-old black housekeeper for being too old to work. The morning light came through the tall windows of the Castellano estate like it always did, falling across the marble floors that Kaitlyn had polished for 18 years. She stood in the main foyer with her cleaning cart, waiting. Marcus Castellano had called a staff meeting. That never happened. The other housekeepers gathered near the grand staircase. Maria, who worked the east wing. Thomas, the groundskeeper. Jenny, who handled the laundry. They exchanged glances but said nothing. Kaitlyn kept her eyes on the floor. At 45, she had learned that silence was safer than speculation. The double doors to the study opened, and Marcus walked out. He was 32 now, the same age his father had been when he inherited the family's shipping empire. But where his father had been measured, Marcus was sharp. Where his father had been patient, Marcus was hungry. Behind him came a woman Kaitlyn didn't recognize. Blonde, young, carrying a tablet and wearing a suit that cost more than Kaitlyn made in 3 months. "This is Vanessa Reed," Marcus announced. "She's our new director of household operations. Effective immediately, she handles all staffing decisions." Vanessa smiled the way people smile when they've already made their decisions and are just waiting to announce them. "Thank you all for being here," she said. "Mr. Castellano has asked me to modernize household operations. That means evaluating efficiency, updating processes, and ensuring the estate reflects the Castellano brand." Kaitlyn felt something cold settle in her chest. Vanessa's eyes moved across the staff, pausing briefly on each face. When she reached Kaitlyn, they stopped. "You," Vanessa said, "step forward, please." Kaitlyn moved out of the line, her hands stayed folded in front of her apron. "Kaitlyn Vargas," Vanessa read from her tablet. 18 years of service, currently assigned to the West Wing and Mr. Castellano's private quarters. "Yes, ma'am." Vanessa looked up. Her eyes traveled slowly from Kaitlyn's gray-streaked hair to her sensible shoes. 45 years old, Vanessa said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And you're still scrubbing toilets?" The question hung in the air. No one moved. "I do my work well," Kaitlyn said quietly. "I'm sure you think so." Vanessa turned to Marcus. "This is exactly what I was talking about. We have staff who should have aged out years ago. How does it look when guests arrive and see someone's grandmother pushing a mop around?" Marcus nodded slowly, looking at Kaitlyn like he was seeing her for the first time, like she was a piece of furniture he'd stopped noticing. "She has been here a long time," he said. "Too long," Vanessa replied. "This isn't a retirement home, it's the Castellano estate. We need staff who project energy, vitality, not—" She gestured at Kaitlyn. "This." Kaitlyn felt her face grow warm. 18 years, she had held this job through 2 recessions, through her husband's death, through nights when she came home so tired she couldn't eat. She had kept this job because she had a daughter to feed, a daughter to put through school, a daughter who was now in her 2nd year of medical school, because Kaitlyn had never missed a shift. And now, she was standing here, while a woman half her age called her too old to clean. "Ma'am," Kaitlyn said, her voice steady despite everything. "I have never received a complaint. I have never been late. I have—" "Did I ask you to speak?" Kaitlyn stopped. Vanessa turned back to her tablet. "We'll be processing terminations this week. Consider this your notice, Ms. Vargas. 2 weeks severance. You can leave your uniform with HR. If you've ever been dismissed like you didn't matter, like the years meant nothing, you know why this story needs to be told. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe to this channel now. Let's continue." The drive home from the Castellano estate usually took 45 minutes. That day, Kaitlyn pulled over 3 times because she couldn't see through her tears. She didn't cry about the job. She cried because of what the job meant, the rent, the insurance, the wire transfers she sent each month to help cover her daughter's living expenses in New York. Lori was 23 now, brilliant, driven. In her 2nd year at Columbia's medical school, studying to become the doctor Kaitlyn had always known she could be. Lori didn't know how close they always were to the edge. Kaitlyn had made sure of that. She had smiled through double shifts, She had told Lori not to worry about money. She had built a wall between her daughter and the truth, brick by brick, year by year. And now that wall was about to fall. Kaitlyn's apartment was small. 2 bedrooms in a building that had seen better days, in a neighborhood that had seen better decades. But it was clean. It was hers. It had been home since Lori was 7 years old. She sat at the kitchen table and did the math. Rent, utilities, food, the payment plan for Lori's undergraduate loans, the portion of medical school tuition that scholarships didn't cover. With 2 weeks severance and her savings, she could last maybe 6 weeks. After that, she would have to tell Lori the truth. She would have to watch her daughter's face when she realized that everything might fall apart. Kaitlyn put her head in her hands. She had worked so hard, for so long, and none of it had been enough. The phone rang. She almost didn't answer, but the number on the screen was one she recognized, even though she hadn't called it in years. Hello? Kaitlyn? The voice was deep, calm, familiar in ways that made her chest ache. I heard what happened. She closed her eyes. Vincent. Are you all right? How did you... She stopped. She knew how. Vincent Marchetti knew everything that happened in the city. He had known everything for as long as she could remember. I still have people at the estate, he said. Old habits. You shouldn't have called. Probably not. Silence stretched between them. 20 years of silence, compressed into a few seconds, on a phone line. The Castellano boy, Vincent said finally. His father would be ashamed. His father is dead. I know. I was at the funeral. Kaitlyn remembered. She had seen him there, standing at the back of the church in a dark coat. They had not spoken. They had not even looked at each other. But she had known he was there the way she always knew when he was close. I'm fine, Vincent. I'll find another job. In 2 weeks? In this economy? Kaitlyn, you're 45 years old. The world isn't kind to women your age. I've managed. You've survived. There's a difference. She didn't answer. She couldn't argue with the truth. Let me help, he said. No. Kaitlyn, I said no. Her voice was sharper than she intended. I made a choice 20 years ago. I walked away from your world. I'm not going back. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm asking you to let me help you. There's a difference. Is there? More silence. She could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. She wondered where he was. His office in the city? The house in the hills? The apartment in Chicago that he thought no one knew about? Lori is in medical school, Vincent said quietly. Kaitlyn's hand tightened on the phone. How do you know about Lori? I know everything about Lori. I've known everything about her since the day she was born. The words hit her like a physical blow. She stood up from the table, her chair scraping against the floor. You had no right. I had every right. He stopped, started again. I've never interfered. I've never approached her. I've just watched, made sure she was safe. Made sure she had opportunities. What opportunities? The scholarship she received for undergrad. The research position that opened up last summer. The housing lottery that somehow landed her a single room instead of a shared apartment. Kaitlyn felt the room spin. That was you. I wanted to do more, but I knew you would never allow it. So I stayed in the shadows. I helped where I could without being seen. Why? Because I love you. Because I've loved you for 20 years. Because walking away from you was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done things that would make most men weep. She sat back down. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. We can't do this, she whispered. I know. Your world, Vincent. Your life. I couldn't. I know. You made that clear when you left. And I understood. I still understand. He paused. But you're not asking me for anything. I'm offering. There's a difference. You keep saying that. About differences. Because they matter. Everything matters when it comes to you. Kaitlyn wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I don't know what to do. You don't have to know right now. Just know that I'm here. That I've always been here. And that whatever you need, whenever you need it, you only have to ask. He hung up before she could respond. She sat alone in her kitchen, the phone still pressed to her ear, listening to nothing. The story of Kaitlyn Vargas and Vincent Marchetti began 25 years earlier in a hospital emergency room. Kaitlyn was 20 years old then, working as a nursing assistant to pay for community college, pulling night shifts because they paid 50 cents more per hour. The man they brought in at 3 in the morning had been shot twice. Chest and shoulder, he was conscious, which was either very good or very bad. The doctors worked on him for 4 hours while Kaitlyn fetched supplies and monitored vitals and tried not to think about the men in dark suits who waited in the hallway. She knew who they were. Everyone in the neighborhood knew. The Marchetti family had run the Eastern Districts for 3 generations. They weren't in the newspapers, weren't on television, but they were real in ways that mattered. The shop owners who never got robbed, the streets that stayed quiet after dark, the problems that got solved without police involvement. Vincent Marchetti was the youngest son, 25 years old, already being groomed to take over from his father. When he woke up from surgery, Kaitlyn was the one checking his bandages. "You're not afraid," he said. She looked at him. His eyes were dark, clear despite the morphine, watching her like she was something worth studying. "Should I be?" "Most people are. Most people weren't raised where I was raised." That made him smile. It transformed his face, softened the hard edges. For a moment, he looked like any other young man. Normal, human. "What's your name?" he asked. "Kaitlyn." "Kaitlyn," he said it slowly, like he was tasting the word. "I'm Vincent. I know who you are. And you're still not afraid? You're the one with 2 holes in your chest. Maybe you should be afraid of me." He laughed then and immediately winced. "Don't make me laugh, it hurts." Then stop being dramatic. She finished checking his bandages and turned to leave. "Kaitlyn," his voice stopped her at the door. "When I get out of here, I'm going to take you to dinner." "No, you're not." "Why not?" "Because I know who you are. What you are. I'm not interested in that life." "What if I promised to leave it behind?" "Then you'd be a liar." She walked out. She didn't look back, but she felt his eyes on her, and she knew, somehow, that this wasn't over. He found her 3 weeks later. She was walking home from class, cutting through the park to save time. He fell into step beside her like he'd been there all along. "I've been thinking about what you said," Vincent told her. "About you being a liar? About me not being able to leave." He walked with his hands in his pockets, his shoulders still stiff from the healing wound. "You were right. I can't leave. My family, my responsibilities, they're part of who I am." "Then why are you here?" "Because you're also right that I want to be with you. And I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to have both." Kaitlyn stopped walking. "There isn't. You don't know that. I do know that. I grew up watching women marry into families like yours. You know what happened to them? They either became ghosts or they became widows." She shook her head. "I'm not going to be either." Vincent studied her face. "What if I could promise you something different?" "Like what?" "I don't know yet, but I'm asking you to give me time to figure it out." She should have walked away. She knew that, even then. But there was something in his eyes that she recognized, the same loneliness she saw in her own mirror, the same desperate want for something more than survival. "One dinner," she said finally. "That's all." One dinner became 2. 2 became a week. A week became a month. She fell in love with him slowly, then all at once, with his laugh and his quiet intelligence and the way he looked at her like she was the only real thing in a world made of shadows. He fell in love with her the same way. She knew, because he told her. Because he showed her in 1,000 small ways. Because when he touched her, his hands trembled like he was holding something precious. For 5 years, they existed in a space between worlds. She kept her apartment, her job, her separate life. He came to her when he could, stayed as long as possible, left when his other world called him back. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't sustainable. But it was theirs. And then Kaitlyn got pregnant. She found out on a Tuesday, sat with the test result for 3 hours before Vincent arrived that night, told him while they stood in her kitchen, the same kitchen where she would sit alone 20 years later. "Marry me," he said immediately. "No." "Kaitlyn, no." She put her hand on his chest, felt his heart pounding. "If I marry you, I become part of your world. Our child becomes part of your world. And I can't let that happen. I can protect you, both of you. From everything? From everyone? Forever?" She shook her head. "You can't. No one can. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to let me go. Let me raise this child away from your world. Give them a chance at a normal life. And us? There is no us. There never really was." He stood there in her kitchen, the most powerful young man in the city, and he cried. She had never seen him cry before. She never saw him cry again. "I'll go," he said finally. "If that's what you want, I'll go, but I will never stop loving you, and I will never stop watching over you, both of you." "Vincent, that's my condition. You want me to disappear? I'll disappear. But I stay close enough to help if you ever need it. Take it or leave it." She took it. He left that night. She didn't see him again for 18 years. Not up close, anyway. Sometimes she caught glimpses. A figure in a parked car outside her building. A face at the back of a crowded room. A shadow that might have been real or might have been hope. She named the baby Lori. It meant illusion in Sanskrit. It meant dream. It meant that the best part of her life had been something she could barely believe was real. In the weeks after losing her job, Kaitlyn interviewed at 9 different cleaning services. 3 told her she was overqualified. 4 told her she was too old. 2 never called her back at all. She started doing math in the middle of the night. How long until the savings ran out? How many meals she could skip before it affected her health? How to tell Lori without destroying everything? Lori called every Sunday. Those calls were the brightest part of Kaitlyn's week and also the hardest. "You sound tired, Mom." "I'm fine, baby. How are your classes?" "Brutal. Biochemistry is trying to kill me, but I think I'm going to make it." "You're going to be an amazing doctor." "I'm going to be a broke doctor with 6 figures of debt." Lori laughed. "But I guess that's the dream, right?" Kaitlyn smiled into the phone. "The dream is helping people. The debt is just the cost of admission." "Speaking of costs, are you sure you don't need help with anything?" "I could pick up more shifts at the research lab." "Absolutely not. Your only job is studying. I've got everything handled here." The lie tasted bitter in her mouth, but it was a mother's lie, the kind you tell to protect your child from worry they can't do anything about. "Okay, Mom, if you're sure." "I'm sure. Now tell me about that boy you mentioned last time." The conversation shifted. Lori talked about classes and friends and a young man named Daniel who was in her anatomy study group. Kaitlyn listened and laughed in the right places and filed away each detail like precious gems. After they hung up, she sat in the dark for a long time. 6 weeks, maybe 7 if she stretched it. Then the truth would come out, one way or another. The envelope arrived on a Thursday. Plain white. No return address. Hand-delivered, according to the building manager. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000. No note. No explanation. Kaitlyn stared at it for 5 minutes before reaching for her phone. "I can't accept this," she said when Vincent answered. "It's not from me." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying. It's not from me. It's from my mother." Kaitlyn sat down hard. Your mother? She always liked you, even after you left. She said you were the only woman I ever loved who had sense enough to walk away from our family. I never even met your mother. She met you, you just didn't know it. Vincent's voice was soft. She's dying, Kaitlyn. Pancreatic cancer. She has maybe 6 months left, and she wanted to do something good with her money before it all goes to lawyers and taxes. Vincent, it's a gift. No strings, no expectations. Just an old woman trying to make peace with her life. Kaitlyn looked at the check in her hands. $50,000. Enough to cover 6 months of expenses. Enough to keep Lori's dream alive. I don't know what to say. Say thank you, and if you can bring yourself to do it, come visit her. She'd like to meet Lori's mother properly. Just once. Before the end. Kaitlyn closed her eyes. Where is she? Same house. Same room she's been in for 40 years. Come for lunch on Sunday. No one else will be there. Just her and her nurses. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. She went. The Marchetti family home was in the hills outside the city, surrounded by old trees and high walls. Kaitlyn had never been there before. She drove through the gate with her heart pounding. Sophia Marchetti was 82 years old and looked every minute of it. The cancer had hollowed her out, left her thin and fragile in a hospital bed that had been set up in the sunroom. But her eyes were sharp, and her voice was stronger than Kaitlyn expected. So you're her, Sophia said. The one who got away. Kaitlyn stood just inside the door. Mrs. Marchetti, sit down, I'm dying, not deaf, and call me Sophia. Mrs. Marchetti was my mother-in-law, and she was a horrible woman. Kaitlyn sat in the chair beside the bed. Sophia studied her face for a long moment. You've aged well, better than I did. Then again, I spent 50 years married to a man who ran a criminal empire, so that probably explains the wrinkles. I don't know why I'm here. Yes, you do. You're here because you need help, and you're too proud to take it from my son, so you're hoping that taking it from a dying old woman will feel less like charity. Kaitlyn said nothing. There was nothing to say. It's okay, Sophia continued. Pride is good. It's kept you alive this long, but there's a time to be proud and a time to accept help. And right now, you need to accept help. For your daughter's sake, if not your own. How much do you know about Lori? Everything. Vincent made sure of that. He has photographs, report cards, every award she's ever won. He keeps them in a box in his office, takes them out and looks at them sometimes, when he thinks no one is watching. Kaitlyn felt tears prick her eyes. He's loved you for 25 years, Sophia said softly. Loved you and the daughter he's never met. And he's never once asked you for anything in return. Never once pushed, never once demanded. I know. Do you? Because I'm not sure you understand what that means, coming from a man like my son. He was raised to take what he wanted, taught that power means never asking permission. And yet, with you he's waited. Year after year, like a patient man, even though patience was never his gift. Kaitlyn wiped her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm dying, and I'm tired of watching my son suffer. Because I want him to be happy before I go, and the only person who can make him happy is you. Sophia reached out and took Kaitlyn's hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. I'm not asking you to marry him. I'm not asking you to join this family. I'm just asking you to stop running. I'm not running. You've been running for 20 years, and I understand why. This life, our world, it's dangerous and ugly and hard. But running hasn't made you safer. It's just made you alone. Kaitlyn looked at the old woman in the bed, at the monitors and tubes and machines, keeping her alive for a little while longer. What do you want me to do? Have dinner with him. One dinner. Give him a chance to show you who he's become. He's not the same man he was when you left. The family has changed. The business has changed. Everything has changed except how he feels about you. One dinner. That's all I'm asking. After that, Whatever happens is between you and him. Kaitlyn squeezed Sophia's hand. Okay, one dinner. Sophia smiled. It transformed her face, showed glimpses of the beauty she must have been 60 years ago. Good. Now go home and find something nice to wear, and tell your daughter you love her. You never know how much time you have left. The dinner was at Vincent's apartment in the city. Not the family home, not a restaurant. Somewhere private, somewhere quiet. He cooked for her. That surprised her. She didn't know he could cook. I learned after you left, he explained, setting the pasta in front of her. It gave me something to do with my hands. They ate in comfortable silence. The food was good. Simple, but made with care. Tell me about Lori, Vincent said finally. She's amazing, smart, and driven, and kind. Everything I hoped she would be. Does she know about me? Kaitlyn shook her head. I told her that her father died before she was born, that he was a good man who loved her. Half true, at least. I didn't know what else to say. How do you explain to a child that her father is alive but can't be part of her life because his world would swallow her whole? You don't have to explain it to me. I understand why you made the choices you made. Vincent set down his fork. But things are different now. The family is different. We've moved away from the old businesses, invested in legitimate companies. My father would barely recognize what we've become. Are you saying it's safe now? I'm saying it's safer. Nothing is ever completely safe. But the dangers that existed 20 years ago, most of them are gone. Kaitlyn thought about this, about Lori in medical school, about the life she'd built out of nothing, about the walls she'd constructed to keep the darkness out. I don't know if I can let those walls down, she said honestly. I'm not asking you to tear them down. Just open a door, let me in a little. Let me be part of your life, even if it's only a small part. And Lori? That's up to you. If you want to tell her, I'll be there. If you want to keep things as they are, I'll respect that. I've gone 23 years without meeting my daughter. I can go longer if I have to. Kaitlyn looked at the man across the table. He was 50 now, his dark hair streaked with gray. The years had added lines to his face, weight to his presence. But his eyes were the same, still watching her like she was the only real thing in a world made of shadows. I want to try, she said, but slowly, very slowly. I can do slow. And if it doesn't work, then we'll figure that out together. I'm not going to disappear again, Kaitlyn, not unless you ask me to. She reached across the table and took his hand. It felt like coming home. 3 months later, Kaitlyn told Lori the truth. They sat in a cafe near the medical school, and Kaitlyn explained everything. The love story that began in a hospital room. The impossible choice she'd made when she was pregnant. The years of silence and distance and watching from afar. Lori listened without interrupting. Her face was unreadable. He's been watching over me? She asked finally. This whole time? Yes. The scholarship, the research position, the housing lottery. All of it. Lori was quiet for a long moment. And you're together now? You and him? We're trying. It's complicated. Everything about this is complicated. Lori laughed, but there was something broken in the sound. I spent my whole life thinking my father was dead. Now you're telling me he's alive and he's been there all along, just hiding in the shadows. I know this is a lot. It's not a lot, Mom. It's everything. My whole understanding of my life, of who I am, where I come from. It's all different now. Kaitlyn reached for her daughter's hand. I'm sorry. I did what I thought was right at the time. I was trying to protect you. I know. Lori squeezed back. I know you were. I'm not angry. I'm just processing. Take all the time you need. Does he want to meet me? Vincent? More than anything, but only if you want to, only when you're ready. Lori was quiet again, staring at her coffee like it held answers. I want to meet him, she said finally. I think I need to meet him, to understand who he is, and what that means about who I am. Kaitlyn felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Okay, I'll set it up. Mom? Lori looked up. Thank you for telling me, even though it hurt, even though it changed everything. I'd rather know the truth than keep living a lie. That's all I've ever wanted for you. The truth, the chance to choose your own path. I know. That's why you're a good mother. The meeting happened on a Sunday afternoon at Vincent's apartment. Kaitlyn watched them together, her daughter and the man she had loved for a quarter century. They were both nervous, both careful, circling each other like strangers who shared the same blood. You look like your mother, Vincent said. Everyone says that, but I think I have your hands. Lori held up her fingers. Long and thin, good for surgery, my professors say. Your grandmother had hands like that. She was a pianist. I didn't know that. There's a lot you don't know, a lot I want to tell you, if you'll let me. Lori nodded slowly. I think I'd like that. They talked for 3 hours, about Lori's childhood, her dreams, her fears, about Vincent's life, his regrets, his hopes for the future, about the family she'd never known, and the history that was now hers, whether she wanted it or not. When it was time to leave, Lori hugged him. It was brief, awkward, uncertain, but it was a beginning. Thank you, Vincent said after Lori had gone, for giving me this. Thank her. She's the one who decided to come. But you're the one who raised her, who made her the person she is. He pulled Kaitlyn close. I don't know what I did to deserve this second chance, but I'm not going to waste it. You waited, she said. 20 years, and you never stopped loving me. That's what you did. 3 years passed. Lori graduated from medical school at the top of her class. She started her residency at a hospital in Boston, specializing in emergency medicine. She called her mother every Sunday, just like before. But now she called her father too, every Wednesday evening, like clockwork. Kaitlyn moved out of her old apartment and into a townhouse that Vincent bought in both their names. She didn't work at the Castellano estate anymore, hadn't since the day Vanessa Reed had humiliated her in front of the entire staff. But she found a new job managing a community center in the neighborhood where she grew up. It paid less. It mattered more. Vincent came to dinner 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes he stayed over. Sometimes he didn't. They were building something new, something that didn't have a name yet. Neither of them was in a hurry to define it. One evening, Kaitlyn was cooking when her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number. Ms. Vargas? The voice was female, nervous. This is Lisa Chen. I work at Castellano Industries, in the legal department. Kaitlyn frowned. I don't work there anymore. I know, I'm calling about something else. About Mr. Castellano, Marcus Castellano. What about him? He's in trouble. Big trouble. The board found out about some irregularities in the company accounts. They're talking about criminal charges, fraud investigation, the works. Why are you telling me this? Lisa hesitated. Because there are rumors about who's behind the investigation, about who tipped off the board. Who? Vincent Marchetti. Kaitlyn leaned against the counter. I see. I don't know if it's true, but I thought you should know. People are talking, saying that Mr. Marchetti did this because of how Mr. Castellano treated because of how he treated you. Thank you for telling me. Ms. Vargas, I was there that day when Vanessa Reed said those things to you. I wanted to say something, but I was too scared. Lisa's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I should have spoken up. It's okay. You had a job to protect. I understand. I just wanted you to know that not everyone felt the way she did. A lot of us respected you. You didn't deserve what happened. Thank you, Lisa. That means more than you know. After she hung up, Kaitlyn stood in the kitchen for a long time, thinking. She confronted Vincent that night. Did you do it? The investigation into Marcus Castellano? He didn't deny it. Yes. Because of me? Because of you. Because of how he treated you. Because men like that shouldn't be allowed to destroy people's lives without consequences. Vincent, I didn't ask you to... I know you didn't, but I'm not going to apologize for it. He sat down across from her. That woman humiliated you, called you old, worthless, disposable, and Castellano stood there and let her do it. Let her destroy 18 years of loyal service like it was nothing. This isn't revenge. This is justice. Castellano was stealing from his own company, embezzling millions. All I did was make sure the right people found out about it. Kaitlyn shook her head. This is exactly why I was scared of your world. The way you just move pieces around, play with people's lives. The difference is what we're moving them toward. Castellano hurt you. He hurt a lot of people. Now he's going to face consequences for that. Is that wrong? I don't know. She pressed her hands against her eyes. I don't know what's right and wrong anymore. Then let me make it simple. Vincent knelt in front of her. I love you. I've loved you for 25 years, and I will do whatever it takes to protect you, to honor you, to make sure no one ever makes you feel worthless again. If that's wrong, then I don't want to be right. She looked at him, at this man who had waited 2 decades for a chance to be in her life, who had watched over her daughter from the shadows, asking nothing in return, who had torn down a billionaire's empire because that billionaire had made her cry. I love you too, she whispered. I think I never stopped. Then marry me. Vincent, marry me. Not because of my family or my money or anything else. Just because we love each other and we've wasted enough time being apart. She laughed through her tears. You always were dramatic. Is that a yes? She kissed him, long and slow and full of everything she'd kept locked away for so many years. Yes, she said against his lips. Yes. They married in a small ceremony 6 months later. Lori stood beside her mother as maid of honor. Sophia Marchetti, defying every prediction her doctors had made, sat in the front row in her wheelchair. I told you, Sophia said when she hugged Kaitlyn afterward. I told you to stop running. You were right. I'm always right. It's annoying, but there it is. After the ceremony, Lori pulled her mother aside. I'm happy for you, Mom. Both of you. Thank you, baby. But can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever regret it? The years you spent apart? The life you could have had if you'd stayed with him from the beginning? Kaitlyn thought about this carefully. About the cramped apartments and the double shifts. About the loneliness and the fear and the never-ending struggle to survive. About raising a daughter alone, with no help except her own 2 hands. But also about the strength she'd found in herself, the resilience she'd built, the woman she'd become through struggle, not despite it. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. Because if I'd made different choices, I might not have become the person I am now, and I wouldn't trade that person for anything. Lori smiled. That's what I thought you'd say. A year after the wedding, Kaitlyn ran into Vanessa Reed. It was in a grocery store, of all places. Vanessa was standing in front of the organic produce, looking thinner and more tired than Kaitlyn remembered. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by ordinary clothes. The confidence was gone too. Ms. Vargas, Vanessa's voice was small. I heard you got married. Congratulations. Thank you. I also heard, I know that your husband was involved in what happened to Marcus Castellano. My husband was involved in exposing criminal activity. What Marcus Castellano chose to do with his company wasn't anyone else's fault. Vanessa flinched. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For what I said that day, for how I treated you. Kaitlyn looked at this woman who had once made her feel worthless, who had reduced 18 years of work to a joke about her age, who had been so certain of her own superiority. I forgive you, Kaitlyn said. Vanessa's eyes widened. You do? I do, not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger is exhausting, and I've spent too much of my life being tired." She turned and walked away. She didn't look back. If this story stayed with you, if any part of it felt familiar or true, then subscribe to this channel. These stories matter, and there are more to come. And if you have a moment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to walk away from something you loved to protect what mattered most? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.